Okay. I am so grateful right now to be with you in the community space. If you are catching this by recording, please know that you are catching a practice that's being recorded live with over 100 people from around the world. And it is truly a gift and an honor to be able to offer this and connect in community. And if you ever want to catch us in community, I put the link in Zoom and in various places of how you can catch a live class. And our we are catching this today. Today's class is occurring on December 21st of 2024. It is the solstice. It is a marking of the return of light, and what a powerful and important theme right now, maybe always in our world, to celebrate light and to honor the shortest day and the longest night. Honor this day, this descent phase as well, of when we really allow ourselves to greet the darkest time and to trust in some way that we can still remain connected to that. Heart of the matter is my other kind of thought for today, my other title for today. The card that I have chosen from our post-traumatic growth deck is Spacious Grace, that we can still remember and tune into and tap into the spacious grace that's available for each and every one of us. And that also comes about as the result of our willingness to sit with the dark or the challenge, right, within ourselves and within our world. And there's a lot of it. Right? It's been certainly a challenging week and a challenging year. And we get faced with what can happen when we get overcome by challenge or darkness, and what can happen to people and what choices people might make when they've been overcome by that darkness and it's not held consciously within them or within our communities. And so, Spacious Grace, which is our card for today, coming from one of the many glorious sunsets that we had one last night on the lake. If you haven't seen my photos from last night, like it was stunning, right? And I go out purposefully to be standing there in complete awe by the daily light show that we get with our sun, with our just basic um, are the basics, right? Like what is available to us in nature and the rhythms that are available to us. And and yet when we go into and consciously work with our own darkness, our own pain, our own suffering, there is a way in which we become kind of the alchemist, and we can work with that and transform that into something that is more light filled. And so that is the Spacious Grace card, and I'll read to you the reading with it that comes with it. As you emerge from the depths of your inner work, you may begin to notice the presence of spacious grace. Perhaps you feel this as a lightness of being, a sense of ease, or a newfound experience of freedom. Allow yourself to fully receive the nourishment of these uplifting emotions. Reside in the joyous outcome of your hard work. Feel the glow emanating from your core and radiating out through your entire body. And see if you can stay with this positive experience. There may be more challenges ahead, so give yourself time to linger here, breathing nourishment into every cell of your body. And if in this moment, before we go into the practice, you're like, yeah, no, that's not where I'm at right now. The purpose of today's practice is to kind of thread our way through those tight spaces and those contracted spaces toward the heart of the matter, toward the opening of the heart, so that perhaps by the end, these words will resonate a little bit more clearly, a little bit more fully. The practice today is really about making space for the authentic you, the vulnerable, the tender, the opening to feeling fully, and combining this with love and compassion and kindness and gentleness. There's the alchemy. Yeah. And it's about finding some work with a strap. So we will, if you don't have that strap for today, it's a good chance to have a strap with you. And I almost always use 2 blocks. So 2 blocks are going to be handy as well. Today being the solstice, again, we are celebrating the return of light. And it's also a moment to reflect on this full cycle. And as we're coming to the close of a year, allowing yourself to reflect on the hard work that you have engaged in this year, your own healing work, the leaning in to the people that you love, to the suffering that's around us, and to trusting that by being present with, we allow something new to emerge. And it's beautiful. So this is about your commitment to your healing path. And today gets to be a little bit of a celebration of that too. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Only in the darkness can you see the stars." Hafiz said, "The heart is a 1,000-stringed instrument. Our sadness and fear come from being out of tune with love." So maybe we get to use today's practice to retune ourselves to love. And one more reading before we go into our movement practice. This is a poem from Demelza Dhotel, and it's called The Light Bringers. And I devote it to each and every one of you, bringing your light to this practice, to yourself, to your world, and to our community. When the world feels bleak and dark, and sadness sits with you, look for those with loyal hearts of kindness and beauty true. Those that emanate such warmth that their very presence feels like a warm hug to the soul, and that hold their guiding torch in hand, reminding you to keep your steadfast resolve. When it feels like the world is losing its way, out of kilter, spinning out of control, search for those calm of spirit to help soothe your worries and console. And search for those that feel like the sun. You won't need to look very far. You won't need to look very far. For there are many unsung heroes whose hearts shine bright like stars. And if in the vast ocean of space you're struggling to navigate your way, let that sadness sit with you in place until the light finds you and washes it away. For there are many light bringers out there, the lighthouses, the moon, stars, and sun, shining their guiding light, and who knows, perhaps a light bringer, you two are one. With all of that said, bringing your light-bringing self to your mat if you're not there already, and we'll do some movement. Yeah. And the tears are moving already, I see. Good. That's why we're here. That and some smiles too. Right. Come on in and get comfortable. Mm. Words of intention for today. I open my heart to the spacious grace of joy. I receive the return of the light. And I invite you to breathe nourishment into every cell of your body. And then beginning to find some havening touch, just allowing your palm to palm connection, a little bit of waking up the sensory experience of the hands, receiving and giving. And then allowing your hands to make contact with your face. And remember that everything that I offer here is always with choice. Opt in, opt out, do only what feels like a yes. Sweeping hands from center of forehead out towards your temples. Bridge of your nose out towards your ears. Ah. Maybe when you meet your ears, you might pause there, rolling in and out your earlobes, giving your ears a little massage, a tug, a squeeze. And maybe fingers like V's in front of and in back of your ears, a little massage for your jaw. And then to opposite shoulders and down, like a self hug. Beautiful. And then a moment to connect to breath. I invite you to start with Ha Kara breath, the Ha sounding breath, inhaling through your nose, and exhale, waking up the whisper muscles of the throat again, like that. Like you're fogging a mirror. One more time. And then turning that into Ujjayi breath, keeping the same sound quality of the breath as you breathe in and out through your nose. This breath has a wave-like quality, waking up through the inner ear. And through breath and self-applied touch and sound, we stimulate the vagus nerve and just waking up that mind-body connection. That connection being very central right here at the heart. And taking Ujjayi and bringing it into what we'll call revolving Ujjayi pranayama. Just taking it in a nice broad circle. You can do this sitting on a yoga mat or just as easily in a chair, on a bed, on a couch. Gentle movements to start. Inhaling forward and exhaling back. And then going the opposite direction. Now, not only is this lovely for hips and getting grounding yourself into the bowl of your pelvis, but it's a beautiful massage across your digestive organs. And you can draw your navel in on the exhale, amplifying that massage. Stunning. Next invitation is to find a little seated spinal wave. So it's a little bit different than a seated cat cow. And I'll just kind of demonstrate for a moment that we're going to still move the spine, but it's like you're diving into the ocean and lifting back up. We can kind of call this a porpoise wave, just finding your way to greet your spine and finding your range of motion. Maybe you inhale as you lift up and exhale as you dive on in. Beautiful. One more like that. And again, a slightly different variant on warming up through the spine. We're going to rock a little bit side to side right here in the pelvis. So it's like you're walking from one sits bone to the other. And again, it's a pretty intuitive movement. And then allow that movement that's starting right from the sits bones to translate up your spine. So you can kind of feel like you become a little sidewinder. And there's no right or wrong, finding your own pace in this, moving side to side. Let it feel good. You can even wiggle your arms a little bit in this one. Beautiful. And then we'll take this into an open twist. Inhale, sweeping your arms up, and exhale to one side, but we're moving with the breath. Inhale to sweep, and exhale the other way. Your arms like giant wings, fanning your body with fresh prana, fresh energy. Good. And then go ahead and pause to the right. So when you get to the right, I'll invite you to hook your left hand on your right knee, and right fingertips can come back and behind. And you might stay right here, really finding a long spine. Maybe you turn your gaze over your right shoulder. But nothing is pressed or pressured. You can even turn out of the twist and then find just the right edge of the shape for you so that you're not just cranking on the spine in any way. You're really listening to your body, working more on length of the spine than depth of twist. And then maybe with that left hand hooked on your right knee, allowing your left shoulder to lean away. And here I like to lift my right arm back up. And so now it's just a little side bend, little traction as you hold on to the knee. But again, unforced. Find the range of motion that serves you. And then up and out. Inhale, sweeping both arms up. And exhale to the other side. So right hand hooking on left knee, left fingertips starting out on the floor behind like a little second spine through your left arm, helping you to create length. Maybe a gentle twist, maybe your head turns, listening to your body. Finding breath, finding length. And then perhaps beginning to lean away from that right hand, holding left knee, right shoulder coming towards right knee, maybe left arm reaching up and above. Let that feel yummy in your left side body. Mm. And then come on up and out. A moment to rotate through your wrists, each direction. You might get a little snap, crackle, pop there. Maybe rotate around your elbows, one direction and the other way. I often think like it's like the Charleston or some funny dance. And then a few rotations of your shoulders, one direction and the other. Gorgeous. And then an invitation to take your strap and finding a placement for your arms on the strap that allows you to just play a little bit with that tension, a little traction here, and then moving your arms forward, side to side, opening up around the chest, arms, armpits. You can take a wider hold on the strap and maybe take it back behind. You might even stretch and bend through one arm and the other. Mm. And a few more breaths here, just finding your own movement, your own playtime. Maybe a sound, a sigh. Ah. And then letting your strap go for a moment. Keep it nearby. We're going to use it again. And an invitation to rock into your left hip enough to bring your right foot off the floor and find some rotational movements around your right ankle. One direction and the other. And shin around knee. One direction and the other. And then tight in, holding ankle and knee, and just allowing yourself to find a few rocks side to side, greeting your right hip joint. You might even find a few rotational movements here in each direction. And here's where strap comes in handy. Invitation to take the strap around your right foot. Now you can have a loop in the strap or just simply loop the wide part of the strap around your foot. Both work equally well. And then allowing yourself to experiment with taking a longer leg. Now you can always keep a knee bend here, or you can find a little bit more length, and then another chance to rock into your right hip joint. You can rock here a little bit. You might even experiment with taking your right leg to the right and looking to the left. And then we're going to cross midline, taking strap in your opposite hand, and you go just past midline and twist a little to the right. Now, some of you might just take your foot and do this, and that's absolutely fine if you have that range of motion. But I like the strap because it gives us a little bit more freedom and room to play. One more breath. And then releasing, and we'll take all of that on the other side, starting with your left foot around your ankle. Both directions. And let's go ahead and take your shin around your knee. Another place where you might get some snap, crackle, pops. Beautiful. And then we'll start by holding the leg and a few rocks into your left hip, or maybe some circular movements in each direction. And then experimenting with the strap and knowing that you can stay with those hip movements as we were just doing them. You can always keep your legs still quite bent, and then just allowing yourself to give that left hip a little bit of love as you rock your hip side to side, rock your leg side to side. And you might take this into some broader extensions, maybe reaching left leg, right arm, and then you can cross midline, experiment with that little twist here. And a little side to side. And this is your range of motion. So you get to be very wise in listening to your body and letting your body guide you. So it doesn't have to look any particular way. Certainly doesn't have to look like what I'm doing or anyone else on the screen. And then when you feel even, allowing yourself to release the strap. We'll use it again shortly. So just putting it right to the side of your mat. And an invitation, if you're not there already, to turn towards the short end of your mat. And we're going to take a little bit of a deer side to side. So when we go into deer, both knees are going to drop one way and the other way. And so just allowing yourself to just find, once again, how do you make this shape yours? Personally, as I drop the knees, I like to take one hand off the floor and just let my torso turn in the direction of my knees. And you can find how your breath and body and spine want to meet these shapes. You might also experiment with a little bit more action here in the core by going from side to side. No hands, right? A lot of you know my mom takes this class, so look, Ma, no hands, right? Can play around with balance, core support. Beautiful. And then when you feel ready, I'll invite you to come all the way back onto your back. And you might even find a variation of that same movement of the legs right here. Just allowing your knees to drop to one side. You might even roll onto that shoulder, lift the opposite arm. And again, side to side, just a few breaths like you are a dog rolling in the grass, just playful. Maybe a lion rolling in the savannah. I got to see a horse do this in a field a few weeks ago. It was fun. Mm. Ah. And then coming back to center. Here we'll use our strap again. And starting with the right leg, invitation to take your strap around your right foot. And you can keep your left leg bent, or you might choose to send your left leg long. And taking a moment just to hammock your leg in the strap. Just feel that. You can always take a gentle knee bend here if it feels like there's any strain in the hamstring or knee area. Next invitation is to take the strap out wide to the right. You can kind of kickstand your right elbow onto the earth and then use your hand to choose the depth of that stretch. Maybe you place your left hand on your left hip, just grounding your left leg into the mat as you extend your right leg. Using your breath as a tool to breathe into any contracted spaces, especially around left psoas, left hip flexor, right hamstring. And then we'll come up through center and just like we did seated, switch the hand on the strap and come slightly past midline. So for me, I'm going maybe a foot past midline and just greeting here the outer edge of your right leg. If you flex your foot, you might feel a little more sensation there. And right hip is still staying rooted onto the mat. You can even use your right hand to root that right hip a little bit more as you reach through your right heel. And then let that go. Beautiful. Take a moment with both legs down on the mat and sensing left and right leg. I notice for me that my right leg feels quite a bit longer and more awake in my awareness. So we'll even ourselves out, taking left leg up. You can keep your right leg bent if you want, taking the strap around your left leg, and then maybe you send your right leg long. And we'll start here, just a hammocking of left leg. You can always have a little knee bend. You can experiment with flexing your foot or pointing it into the strap. Hmm. And then perhaps opening your left leg to the left. And you can use left elbow here as a little kickstand so that your arm can be supported in the depth of that left leg stretch. It doesn't obviously doesn't have to come to the ground. Mine does not. And then right hand on right hip, just anchoring here and noticing what this side has to tell. I notice for me that my right hip actually wants my left leg a little higher. So you can kind of feel into that integrity. What's the right level of stretch for the whole body as you listen in to sensation? And then as you hold the stretch, it might change. Maybe something lets go and says, oh, now that feels right. Beautiful. Let's go ahead and lift your left leg up. We're going to switch hands on the strap and then bringing left leg just a little bit past midline. So 6 inches to a foot, flexing your foot and then breathing into the outer line of your left leg, your calf, wherever you sense this. And then you can use your left hand to root your left hip down. So we're breathing into perhaps some of those tighter places, the darker places that maybe don't always get our attention on a daily basis, but really benefit from sending breath and awareness and a little bit of movement right into those sticky spots. All right, come on back up, release the strap. We're done with it for a little while. You can set it aside. And then once again, I'm going to invite you to bring your right leg in and send your left leg long. Now, some of you have done this with me before. You're going to send your right shin into your hands and resist with your hands. You can keep your head down. You can keep your left leg down, or you can experiment lifting your left foot off of the earth. Maybe you experiment lifting your head shoulders off, but if you want to keep your head shoulders down, if there's any neck discomfort, do so. And then a static hold, and you are pressing your knee into your hands and, whew, right? Now you might take upper body down for this next part. Keep the press, this time lifting and lowering through your left leg. Inhale up, exhale down. Good, one more here. And then from here, I'll invite you to take your hands behind your head and find an alternate little bicycle here, going side to side, elbow to knee, side to side. Now, if that is not working for your neck, the alternate here is just working with the lower body. Use your hands under your hips or grabbing hold of your mat. So there's always options. And as you do your bicycle, you can work with bent knees, you might work with long legs. Exhale as you come to each side, inhale center, finding your rhythm and pace. Beautiful. And then coming back through center, switching it out, taking hold of your left shin. You might keep everything on the ground and just work with resistance press, pressing shin into hands, hands pull back. Maybe you lift through upper body. Maybe you hover right leg and you just feel your way into this hover resistance press, resist, resist. Maybe you lower upper body and work with lifting and lowering through your leg. Inhaling as you lift, exhale, lower. Gorgeous. And then from here, we're going to once again take the bicycle movement. Now, you're always at choice. You get to decide whether you're on a cruiser ride or whether you're racing up a mountain. But I'm going to invite you to savor the journey. Last night, we took a bike ride with some friends to go look at holiday lights. And there were about 50 of us with lights all lit up and music playing. And you can imagine what you might be seeing on your little bike ride here. A gorgeous sunset. How are you looking for light? All right, I've distracted you long enough. Let's go ahead and come back to center. One more final round here. Either just the lower body working to lift through the hips, gentle lifts towards the ceiling, or putting it all together, upper and lower body together, knees and elbows come into a little clamshell, and then open it up. So in all of these movements, we are waking up into the third chakra, often referred to as the solar plexus, this inner sun energy, the fire, the Agni that lives inside of the core, the belly, letting that get bright so that we can bring it up into the heart. Okay, when you feel complete and evened out, go ahead and take your hands behind your knees. Give it a few rocks and rolls. And we'll make our way into a tabletop. Come on in, find your way. You can always get a drink of water. And once you arrive in your tabletop, just finding some free form movement. It's another beautiful chance to check in and start to experiment with what has already changed in the course of this practice. And as you continue to notice any sticky spots, give them your attention here. Send your breath there, maybe contract around an area of tension, give it a sound, send your breath into it. This is your chance just to move, listening to sensations, letting them be your guide. Moving like your favorite animal, just waking up from a nap. Stunning. And then if you'd like some more guided movement, I'm going to take you through a few rounds here. And again, these movements are going to be a bit more structured today because I'm going for some specific goals. And right now I'm really working with that core area of the body. So I'm going to invite you to take your left leg back and just send some pulses with your left foot up towards the ceiling, the sky, the sun. I've got some sunlight hitting my left foot. I'm enjoying that. So just send some pulses up and waking up through your left hip. And then keeping a nice long back, a spine, keeping your navel engaged. Draw your knee under without going into a cat pose. So we've got a stable neutral spine and I'm not rounding as I take my knee under. Instead, I'm keeping that navel drawn in and just knee comes under. I know a few of you have done this with me before and it's back by request. It's a nice stabilizer for hip and low back. You can exhale as your knee comes under. Inhale to lift. Beautiful. One more time. And then sending your left leg long and a few pulses here. And then I will invite you to walk yourself to the left. It seems a little complicated, but it's pretty straightforward. And your right shin will come behind you, which will then allow you to lift up and come into gate. And now, once again, greeting side bodies. There's a contraction in one side and an expansion in the other. Gorgeous. And then up and over, sending right hand down to the mat, and we'll find a supported side plank here. So allowing yourself with this knee down to feel that long line from your outer left foot to your right fingertips. This is a beautiful place to stay. Some of you might want to lift your left foot off the ground. A little balance. Maybe you draw knee to elbow, elbow to knee, and you expand and draw it in. And a little bit more core strength. And then go ahead and lower it down. We come back through to tabletop, and we get to do all of that on side two. Starting with taking your right leg up, we're at a 90-90. You can even flex through the foot and then start to send the sole of your foot up toward the ceiling. Little pulses here, waking up through the right glute, feeling some of the muscles in there, waking up. And then Once again, we're going to work with that strong spine, long spine, navel drawn into the spine as knee comes under and we're not rounding the back. So it limits the range of motion here, right? If I'm rounding my back, my knee can come towards my chin. But here, long spine, connected core, knee comes about half the distance, and we're waking up through the back line of your body. Beautiful. And then go ahead and send your right leg long, a few pulses. And then walking yourself around to the right, enough to lift up and finding gate. Lovely contraction into the right side body, extension in the left. And up, over, around, grounding your left hand. And starting with that long body stretch, just feeling into the right side body. This side might feel different. I know for me today, my right hip is a little bit more crunchy. It's a little tighter in there today. So I'm honoring, you can contract around that. We extend, listen, breathe into. Maybe you find that balance. Maybe need an elbow. Good. One more of those. And then moving your way back into tabletop. Arriving in table. Maybe again, another free flow here. Here you might want to find a cat and cow. And next invitation is to come into a downward facing dog. Now, remember, you are always listening to you. So if you're like, yeah, no, I'm good, I'm done, I'm going to rest in child's or move into Shavasana, beautiful, honor. And if you're coming into downward dog, enjoy. Find your breath, find some movement. You might bend one knee and then the other. You might shift your hips a little side to side. And then for today, we're going to take this into a lunge flow. I'll invite you to take your right leg up and then a few hip circles. One direction and the other. And then reaching through your right leg and stepping forward and through. And it's totally okay to help your foot get there. Once you arrive in this low lunge shape, maybe you use blocks and you come in and out. And this is a little free flow from this home base. So opportunity to sense into your hip flexor, left side, hamstring on the right. Maybe left knee is down, maybe it's lifted. Beautiful. Now you can stay with your own free flow here, just following, listening, letting sensations guide you. If you want some guided movement, I'm going to guide you to take both hands to the inside of your right leg. And from that place, you have choices. You might stay lifted, you might use blocks, you might lower down. Maybe you even lower down to forearms. You might experiment with how it feels to have left knee down versus lifted, tucking your toes, maybe finding a little bit of a pulse here. So this is classically referred to as lizard, experimenting with that very primal shape in your body. And maybe again, lifting up, breathing into that hip flexor psoas area on the left side. You might even experiment here with taking your left hand wide and placing right hand to the inside of your right leg on top of your thigh or inside the knee. And you can even walk your right toes out a little bit. You might even bend your left knee and reach around. Now, there's no better, worse, right, wrong variation of the shape. You are feeling into what serves your body today. If you're reaching, but you don't quite reach the foot, great, stay there or use a block under your left hand. Now, we're not there too long, so another breath or two. And then eventually finding your way back through from low lunge into downward facing dog. One more experiment on that side, lifting same leg, right leg, and maybe stacking your hips, maybe bending through right knee. Sending your breath into sensation. Ooh, let it feel good. And then back around and down. And we'll experiment with all of that on side two. Maybe before we go there, just take a breath. Notice left and right sides. And then go ahead and take your left leg up if you're coming along and sending your knee into some wide circles in one direction and the other. And then stepping forward and through. And now it's a free time for you, right? In and out of the lunge, knee down, knee up, hip flexor, hamstring. Good. And then when you feel ready, if it feels right, walking your hands to the inside of your left leg, you might stay lifted. You might lower down, knowing that there literally is no right, no wrong, no better, no worse. You can find the sensations that are calling to you. That's all that we're going for here. All right. And then when you do find a sticky spot, pause there, breathe there. This side might have very different needs than the other side. Honor that. Right? Maybe you experiment with coming to forearms. Maybe you experiment with that twist. If you're taking the twist, you might turn your left toes out. You can stay right here, hand onto the thigh. Maybe you're bending your right leg, taking a hold, or just reaching and tending. And you might start to sense how the work we're doing in the hips and the pelvis and the core of the body is beginning to make its way up to your heart, right? Feeling that stretch in the fascia of the diaphragm and the pericardium, the heart protector, the chest. As you inhale and exhale, and eventually making your way into your downward facing dog. Now we've been here a few times, and as we greet this shape again, it serves like a little home base where you get to keep being curious. What's changing throughout the practice? What am I noticing? How am I bringing light into the dark places? And how might the dark places illuminate the light that's already there? Go ahead and take a walk to the front of your mat. And I'm going to use our block again for the purpose of some structured transition here. So I'll invite you to take the block between your inner thighs And then keeping your knees bent, in fact, bending them deeper as you come into a halfway lift. So squeezing the block between your legs, halfway lift, drawing navel to spine, long spine. Maybe you bring your arms back alongside your torso. Now, as you squeeze the block, you might experiment with what happens if you try and press your heels away from each other. Inner thighs pressing in, heels pressing away. Good. And then you might feel a little shaky shake. I feel a little shaky shake in this one. You could add on by taking your arms forward. And just a few breaths here. And then pressing down to lift all the way up. Whew. Okay, now I still have my block. That's up to you. You can drop that at this point, or if you want to keep it for just a little bit longer, we'll use the block for our side bends. So squeezing the block into midline, allowing yourself to feel that structure, the containment of something to press into. It's like we have just enough that holds us, it tethers us to midline so that we can expand, maybe drawing your arms up overhead. And exhale to the right, squeezing the block, finding length, a little bit of an expansion here. Inhale to center and exhale the other way. Squeeze and reach and find length. Beautiful. Come right on up and exhale, releasing your hands to your lower spine here. And then squeezing the block as we find our first real heart lift here. It's allowing yourself to experiment with how does it feel to ground into your legs. You can always have a little micro bend in your knees as you lift through your heart. And then inhale, maybe draw arms up overhead. And exhale to a forward fold. Here is where I will invite you to release the block down. And then having a halfway lift on an inhale. And exhale, fold, plant your hands, and I'll invite you to step back. We'll have a transition from downward dog. And then rolling yourself forward like a wave to the shore toward high plank. And then bending your knees, let's take it back, downward facing dog. It's like that porpoise that we did seated. Go ahead and roll yourself forward. And bend your knees, come on back. Last time, rolling forward. And then from plank, knees, chest, chin to the earth. Here, an opportunity for a few rolling cobras. You get to choose how much weight in the hands, how much lift of the heart. You can go no weight in the hands at all. Simply back body strengthening. You can find a baby cobra, reaching and lengthening your spine forward. Flowing with your breath, maybe you find a little more height. Inhale to lift. Exhale to lower. One more your own way. And then pressing back through a table to downward facing dog. In this home-based shape that we revisit again and again, an opportunity to sense and feel what's changing through the practice. And another opportunity to make your way to the front of the mat. Soft knees, finding a halfway lift. Inhale. And exhale to fold. Inhale, lengthening to stand as we find flow. Exhale to the right. Inhale through center. Exhale to the left. Inhale through center. Exhale this time, clasping hands. And inhale, lift your heart. Exhale, maybe keeping hands clasped as you come forward into Yogi Mudra. Forward fold, head bows beneath the heart. Intellect bows to the wisdom of the heart. Releasing your hands here. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, planting hands, stepping feet back this time, and an option to come halfway down or to the floor for cobra. And maybe you roll over your toes. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, meeting, downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, I'll invite you to take your knees to the ground and come back for a moment sitting in toes pose. You can curl your toes under and just press yourself up. Now, if that's too much on your feet, you can lean yourself forward or simply skip the toes part and sit on your heels or find any shape that's comfortable. I'm taking you here as just a transitional space to speak about what's coming next. And this is an invitation, and everything is an invitation, and you can opt in, you can opt out. I like to offer some challenges, but you feel and do what is right for you. Option one here is to come forward into a puppy dog. Puppy dog. You can have forehead or maybe chin to the earth, palms or maybe fingertips, and it's like a downward dog. It's officially called Anahatasana. Anahata is the heart chakra. We're opening up through the backside of the heart in puppy dog. Option two is to use a block between your hands. So you're holding the block like with L's of your hands here, and to come into a dolphin shape. Now, dolphin is more intense. Quite obviously, our hips are off the ground, our knees are off the ground, and you might walk your feet closer to your hands. In either shape, coming to your breath. Breathing into the backside of your heart. If you're in dolphin, give that block a squeeze with the L's of your hands. Allow your shoulder blades to descend on your back and breathing into the back of your heart. And then go ahead and lower it down. This time, untuck your toes, come back to sitting on your shins, and that might be enough of an opening of the front of your ankles, or you might lift and lower one knee at a time or both knees. Just breathing into ankles and shins for a moment. And we have a second option to go into Anahatasana, puppy dog pose, or dolphin. And some of you, and I know some of you will take me up on this, will go into an inversion. The inversion for today is forearm stand or Pincha Mayurasana or peacock pose. And if you're not familiar with it, you might want to do this when you're in person with someone to help guide or support. It's helpful to have a wall so that if you are concerned about going over the top, and some of you might just say, child's pose is my jam. Thank you, Arielle. Great, go for that, right? If you are finding puppy dog, you know where to go. If you are finding a variation here of dolphin, you can always stay in dolphin. And if you want to watch for a moment, if you want to try forearm stand, you take one leg up and you just experiment with taking both feet off the floor. Now, mind you, I've been doing this for many, many years, so it doesn't feel scary or like too much of a challenge, which is lovely. It feels nourishing for my nervous system. I can talk to you upside down. And for those of you that are like, okay, I don't think I want to do that, or I need to do that with more support, honor that. And some of you are probably here with me hanging out upside down. When you feel ready, coming back 2 feet to the earth. And from any of those shapes that you may or may not have chosen, finding a moment to receive and rest. Allowing yourself to tune into your breath. Sometimes we think that the only outcome of something like nervous system regulation or toning the vagus nerve is calm. But honestly, what we're building is our capacity to go between challenge and come back into ease. And if we don't meet some variation of challenge, we may or may not be building that particular capacity. Now, life gives us plenty of challenges all on its own. And if you're already feeling overly challenged, a restorative practice is a beautiful reset. And there are ways in which sometimes practicing meeting a challenge on the mat in a safe enough space where we can come into calm and ease as a result gives us that ability to know that we can move between states of stress back to states of ease. And practicing that on the mat lets us take that skill into the world. Beautiful. We've got one more little standing flow, and then we're going to take it back down to the mat. So go ahead and make your way into a downward facing dog. From your downward facing dog, invitation to walk yourself forward, finding a halfway lift and fold, and coming all the way up to standing. Here's where our strap can be handy once again. And whether you have a loop in the strap or you simply want to stand on the strap, we are going to take the same variation of one-legged stretches, this time standing. So letting your left leg be your standing leg, I have the strap around my right foot, and allowing yourself to experiment right here. Now you can always just keep your knee bent, or you might experiment with reaching your right leg forward. Maybe you bring your left arm overhead. Maybe you bring right leg to the right and left arm to the left. Maybe even gaze comes to the left. Offsetting gaze, offsetting balance in these unexpected, right? Moving away from midline challenges balance, but in all the good ways. And then our final round of this series is to take leg back to center, switch hand on the strap. If you lose balance a little bit, that's fine. If you're going to fall, let go of your strap. And then turning to the right. And release. Go ahead and shake out that side. Let that go. What happened? What didn't happen? It's over. We have another chance to play on side 2. And finding your way in. Foot in the strap. Maybe right here, you can always use your wall for balance. Hold on to a leaf of a plant, right? Something that helps you find a little bit of grounding here. Extending left leg long. Maybe right arm overhead. Maybe opening left leg, right arm, maybe turning your gaze to the right. Added element of challenge. And then coming around, switching hand on the strap and twisting to the left. Sound of your breath waking up inner ear, helpful for balance. And then undoing what we've done, letting the strap go and back to the front of your mat. Inhale, invitation to open up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale to downward facing dog. You can just step back to downward dog. You might take a little vinyasa through. No right, no wrong. And here we meet. Invitation from here is to take your right leg back and behind and to exhale forward and through. Now, here we're going to prepare for warrior one. So grounding into your left heel and lifting up halfway or partway here, enough just to take your hands to your hips. And then allowing yourself to play a little bit with the angle of your hips from an open to a closed stance. And at some point, your hips will just kind of meet an edge where they say that's enough and they don't have to be squared. You just find the right edge, and then the rest of the turn happens from the chest, from the heart. So then we allow the rib cage heart to move forward and inhale to sweep arms overhead. And then it's your breath, your gaze, grounding into the outer edge of your left foot, engaging the muscles of your left leg. Inhaling here. And exhale, hands behind once again. Now you can use your strap if clasping hand to hand is not accessible, and then reach your hands away as you lift your heart. Inhale. And exhale, humble warrior. Once again, bowing head beneath the heart. And gently releasing your hands to the earth. And listen carefully here. Invitation is to take your right leg up and then back down, taking knee towards right wrist as we come into pigeon. And pigeon, it might be a seated pigeon. It might be a supine figure four. So listen to what's going to serve you and your body today. Maybe pigeon is lifting up. Maybe it's lowering to forearms. Maybe it's resting your head on stacked hands on a block. And a beautiful place to send your breath into your hips, your belly, front and back of your heart, shoulders, jaw, eyes. Softening your mind. a little descent into the inner space, the quiet space, the darker space. And we'll bring that deep connection with us as we lift. And for a moment, lift your heart. You can press into your legs. Your hips might even lift here. And just feel the open wings once again. Let your heart be open, supported by the lower body. And then release, letting your hands come down, pressing back, downward facing dog. Inhale, left leg. Exhale, forward and through, grounding into your right outer leg, right heel. And we lift up here. So finding your way, once again, greeting your hips, moving from open towards a closed shape. It can feel so good. It's like flossing the hips to move between those two shapes for a few breaths. And then once you find where your hips come to their natural edge, allow your heart, your chest, rib cage to rotate. Open your arms, fly your wings, and maybe draw arms up overhead. Savoring this warrior one. And exhale. Hands behind your back. Inhale to lift. Exhale to fold. Releasing your hands. Inhale, sweeping your left leg. And exhale, half pigeon or your variation. And then finding your way in. Experimenting with staying lifted or lowering. Where can you send your breath that creates just a little bit more ease? Slowly, gently pressing into the earth, enough to lift up. Maybe open your wings. Receive the light. And releasing your hands, pressing back, downward facing dog. Last time in this shape. And then settling your knees to the earth one more time, sitting on your heels. We have one final invitation before we move fully onto the mat, and this is for camel. Camel is a beautiful heart opening shape, and I'll show variations so that it feels like there's one right for you. Variation one is to lift up here and to simply place your hands on your back and just find a little bit of a lean. You can even use that block between your thighs, once again, feeling that grounding of the back body, of the lower body, as you lift through the heart so that there's really a nice support. Maybe some of you curl your toes under and reach your hands back, right? Finding that as you make a connection with your heels, you send your heart forward. Maybe you do so without your heels, your toes curled under. Right? Finding your way in. I'm going to go with toes curled. I like that version. And then maybe from here, you reach your chin, but you're not just flopping your head back. It's a reaching upward that comes from the heart through the throat. Finding your breath. And then as you feel ready, coming back to sitting onto your heels. And let the light pour through. You are welcome to complete class seated or in Shavasana or with a block, legs up the wall. Really tuning in to how do you want to honor your body, finding closure, completion of this practice. Settling into stillness. As you emerge from the depths of the inner work, even that inner work of this practice, you may begin to notice the presence of spacious grace. Perhaps you feel this as a lightness of being, a sense of ease, or a newfound experience of freedom. Allow yourself to fully receive the nourishment of these uplifting emotions. Reside in the joyous outcome of your hard work. Feel the glow emanating from your core and radiating through your entire body. See if you can stay with this positive experience. There may be more challenges ahead, so give yourself time to linger here. Breathe nourishment into every cell of your body. All right, community of light bringers, thank you for showing up, bringing your light. If you are ready to transition out of your practice to make your way up to sitting, allowing yourself to take your time rolling through your ankles, your wrists, maybe rolling to your side, rocking on your spine, and then eventually making your way up to sitting. And we'll officially close this practice palm to palm in front of the heart, maybe bowing head to your hands, head to heart. One last time. The light bringer in me honors and bows to the light bringer within you. Namaste.